right, hello everyone. We are here today with Coach Jose. And if you don't mind introducing yourself for those who have never heard of you, what would you say or who would you say you are in your own words?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Number one, I appreciate your time and the platform. So my name is Jose, Coach Jose. So I coach flag football and tackle football, but primarily women's flag and girls flag football. But I would say, in a nutshell, what I do, what we do, is try to create opportunities for young ladies to feel empowered and seen and cared for through sports.
And so what would you say you're doing that makes them feel the most empowered or what a young lady has said to you before?
Yeah, I would say that when a young woman can see a pathway, right? Something that's real, when they can see it's tangible, it's not just, an old guy or other adults saying this, that, and the other. When they see it's real, they can feel like they could belong, right? It creates that dream, that aspiration, but it also makes it tangible for them.
And so what would you say empowering women in practice? I know you said creating a pathway, but what would you say that looks like?
Yeah, so as early as sixth grade, middle school, and I think flag football itself, the sport is moving so quickly. It's growing. It seems like every week there's new colleges and there's new programs and all these things, and more states are sanctioning it as a high school sport. So from that middle school age, being able to show them that if you are going to be amazing in the classroom, you're going to be a good person of character and integrity and positivity, and you work hard in the field and in the gym, that there's a way for you to change your life realistically. And then even if it wasn't through academics, the skills that we learned through sports, teamwork, resiliency, grit, even the benefits of losing, right, of failing, those things are very important. And that's the way that for a young woman to see that pathway, that ecosystem from sixth through college years is invaluable.
And so, kind of looking at the other side of it, what would you say are the barriers to it with girls coming up in flag football and just how it's growing?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is awareness. So it's growing quickly, but there's still a lot of people I talk to say, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that there's flag football as a sport, or with adult women, it would be that if this was around when I was a kid, I would have absolutely played that, right? So I think the first one's going to be awareness and access, and then drilling into that is how do we break those barriers, whether it's going to be financial, it could be geographical, it could be social, to helping. You may never been an athlete before, right? You've never been played a sport, but there's a way that potentially could be a great fit for you.
Was there a particular young athlete story that may have stayed with you?
Yeah, I'd say my daughter. So I got into this work because of my daughter. So my daughter's a sophomore. She's 16. She turned 16 on Monday, which I'm kind of processing that still. That now I have a 16-year-old daughter. She'll be driving soon, and that's even more frightening for a lot of reasons. That's why another
Mm,
podcast or interview. But it's her journey, right? So for her,
right.
she's overcome a lot in her life, and seeing what the sport of flag football, the community, the sisterhood that comes with that, is what inspired me to start this work.
And what would you say is happening in the West Coast right now that people across the country or even on the East Coast can just learn more about in that community?
Yeah, I think it's probably in silos across the country, right? I think now it's connecting everything. So in California, Southern California has been miles ahead of what we're doing in the Bay Area up here in the north, but we're catching up. And the cool thing is that the style of play is different, the way the girls train is a little bit different, but now everything's kind of starting to recalibrate itself to where there is this growing movement. I think even looking back to like last travel club season to this year, that there is so much less animosity, so much less tension, right? When these girls play each other, it's a matter of like, hey, yeah, we're going to compete hardcore when the game's going on, but afterwards we're friends. And you make so many new friends. You have partnerships that go out there between programs, organizations, schools, clubs, which is amazing because I think what we're seeing on the West Coast is that realization of, hey, like we have a chance as leaders in this community to help these kids in a meaningful way. That sure, we win, lose, draw, whatever it might be, we're all competitive, but there's a way to really help impact lives.
And so, what would you say is the most unique part of the communities that you're serving? I know you mentioned Bay Area. Are you around like the San Diego or even that like area at all?
Yeah, so we actually are going to be. So well, we're going to launch a really cool initiative that we're going to touch all of California into Arizona and Mexico. I think we can touch on that a little bit. But the biggest thing is we're trying, again, those barriers, trying to get into the neighborhoods, communities that are underserved, where maybe the resources aren't as plentiful, and being able to bring high quality training, mentorship, just awareness in so many parts of an athlete's life, mental health, financial literacy, explaining what those pathways are, and then also showing, demonstrating, role modeling some of the young ladies that have done it, that are either committed to college, they are in college playing flag football, being those incredible examples of what hard work can look like.
And so, from your perspective, what would you say of these underserved communities are you seeing as you're helping them in like helping grow these initiatives?
I'm sorry, what are we seeing?
Yeah, like what are you seeing from these young girls? Like um from the impact that you're doing? Like how are they, I'd say, applying it to their lives? If there's like been any players outside of your daughter, of course, um that have been applying it, whether it's school or even just to their sport or even just how they're growing in general.
Yeah, I think that the biggest measurement is consistency and retention inside of a program, right? So being able to continue to show up day in, day out. Well, what I tell, especially like middle school age athletes, that this has to be fun. You have to enjoy doing this. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, right? So anyone that's an athlete knows that training is not easy. It's hard. And typically the practices and the grind is going to be a lot less exciting and it's going to be more challenging. But if it's not fun when life gets hard, right? Especially when you're in an underserved area or you maybe experience trauma or just life, right? Like it just, that's going to happen to all of us. And if that 2 hours or hour and a half, whatever time you're spending on that field or in that session isn't fun for you and it isn't your passion, you're going to probably give up on that too. I think that the coolest thing that I've seen is how many young ladies have stuck with it. When you are being coached and you're being pushed out of your comfort zone, but you keep showing up. And then I think the biggest aha moment is when you see a young woman that something clicks. Right, they understand that the scheme a little bit better. They make that catch they would have dropped. They pull that flag in a great way, or in flag football, it's that double flag pull. When a young lady breaks down and she pulls both at the same time, like that's like kind of the aha, wow, look at that, I did it. So it's seeing all of these kids show up day after day, month after month, and want to be better.
And I know you spoke on this a lot earlier, actually. What had inspired Hers Us, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so her is us, her is my dog. Her that's where it started for me as a dad, and us as a community, right? So, and I think that it's as simple as that. You plug in whatever young lady, whatever athlete came to your mind first, and you heard that name. That's her, and us is everybody. So my thought in the name was, if we, the community, pour into that child, everybody wins. Because the ripple effects of positivity, of collaboration, of empathy are incredible. And there's so many amazing people out there that are doing great work. There's a lot of people that want to do great work, they just maybe don't know what the platform is, what the pathways to do that. So that's for us.
And so, what would you say more athletes, even if they're in middle school, as young as middle school, have understood or come to understand about the process?
Yeah, I think it's the life skills. I ended up coaching part-time at a middle school here locally in the Bay Area, flag football. And when I saw the number of young ladies over there, number one, that there was 25 on the team, which seemed incredible, right? Because some high schools have 10 kids, 10 girls on the team. And then seeing that the work and whether it was winning or losing, the way that they were able to start to self-reflect into their own personalities and their own lives and starting to understand why they think the way that they do at times, right? So maybe if the other player on the team is chirping and now they feel a certain way about it, whether it's frustrated or angry or whatever it might be, and starting to connect those dots of, wait a minute, this is why I feel this way. And if I have that support system in a positive environment, I can feel safe articulating those things, right? I can communicate my feelings. And I think that's incredible because those skills translate way beyond the field. Like the sport itself, like any sport, volleyball, basketball, softball, it's just the pathway, right? It's the conduit to be able to understand who you are as a human and then apply those skills in a relationship, in the classroom, at home, all those things.
And what would you say, from your perspective, the future of girls flag football looks like. I know you mentioned going a bit into Arizona, and I believe it was also New Mexico. What are you looking to get from that or get out of that?
Yes, so the sport itself is going to be incredible. I think that the country doesn't have a true understanding of how big this is going to be. By the time the Olympics come and go, I would expect that it's going to explode. So 2028, it's a game changer. And then you look the wider view, right? The NFL is already committed to starting a professional league at some point. Whatever that is, I would expect that to be one of the largest female professional leagues in the country. It's the opportunity is endless for these young ladies. And then the other part that's really exciting is you see the younger girls, right? The elementary school age kids, the K through fives, that are starting to play flag football as a primary sport that young. So the skill set's only going to become sharper and crisper when someone's played the sport for 10 years, right? Going into high school and college. So that's really exciting. For what we're doing as far as this flag series, we want to take this in this what's right, this program from city to city across California and Arizona and also Mexico. And we want to break that barrier. So we want to give a premium, high quality clinic camp that's not just about skill development, but also their personal development, right? So leadership, mentorship, financial literacy, giving these kids uh, the tools that they might need to really be successful in their playing career. But then we want to also highlight and showcase those amazing people in those areas. So when we go to San Diego, or we go to Compton, we go to Mesa, Arizona, there's already tons of people there that are doing great work. You know, we're not the heroes. We're just ones that showed up with the idea. And that way, when we leave, it's not like, oh, you're gone. I got a t-shirt and I had some good times. No, it's like, yeah, you got those things and those are great. You have great memories, but you'll also be connected with people locally that are doing amazing work. That way you can continue on until we come back again next year. So we're expecting to reach about 1,200 kids over these 9 stops. Most of them probably haven't played flag football before in their lives, and we didn't understand that was a an opportunity. So we're partnering with local nonprofits that serve these underserved areas, and we're inviting them to help us amplify the message and get these kids out. And it's all for free. So like that's the biggest thing is for us, the biggest barrier in a lot of cases is financial. Flag's not an expensive sport to play. That's the beauty of it, right? Tackle is, baseball is. There's a lot of sports that cost a lot of money to maintain, not so much. So at us, we try to do whatever we can to really break down that barrier on the financial side.
And so I'm very glad that you mentioned the financial side because I do see a lot, not knocking other coaches, but I do see a lot that there's a lot of financial packages that they bring up and the cost of it. Is that cost coming more from like the events or the setup, or is that coming from more of the equipment, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it depends on the program, right? What your goals
Oh,
are. So it depends on how many events you're going to go to. I mean, yes, the world costs money. So there's I'm not
mm-hmm,
going to pretend that it's not. In order to function as even a nonprofit, you need funding and sponsors and all those things, grants.
mm-hmm.
But there's ways to do things, right? So my career was in marketing and business. I've started businesses in the past, and being able to leverage my skills as a negotiator, as a partnership builder has really helped us because now I can go to vendors, I could go to our partners in the community and say, hey, here's an idea. Here's what I could provide. What can you provide? How do we help these kids? And that's when I mentioned earlier that there's a lot of amazing people out there that are doing great work. They are, because none of this functions with one person. It takes that collective of great human beings. But the when you look at the sport itself, it's one of the least expensive sports to play because flags are not expensive. They can be. You can get very expensive flags, but to just have flags for flag football are not expensive. Footballs themselves, a football could be, right? You could spend $150 on a football, but you could also spend $20 on a football, right? And there's also amazing organizations out there that support, like Good Sports, for example, is an incredible organization where for their partners, they essentially have a giant warehouse of donated goods and you pay a nominal fee to have them shipped to you. So it's doing your due diligence. And I think maybe that's part of the hiccup is that perhaps some programs don't do that or don't aren't aware of these resources. But when I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. I spend way too much time on a computer and trying to find, these partnerships to help our community out.
Right. Well, thank you. I really appreciate your time and everything that you've been able to present to us in my audience. So I really do appreciate you. And also, if you want to do a quick plug, you can absolutely do that
Absolutely.
for
Thank
your
you.
social media.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you for your time. I absolutely enjoyed it. So herisus.org is our website, and then you can find us on Instagram at herisus_foundation or at Coach JH Sanchez.